Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Alchemy of Soldering. It's 12 noon. I think I am live here. Let me make sure. Let me see. Okay, I am live. Yay! I haven't been on Facebook Live in a long time. Mostly I've been on Instagram. So good morning, everyone. How are you? Let me see. Christina is texting me now. Oh, okay. Hi, I always have Christina. I got you, Christina. I'm going to wait a few minutes until everyone starts showing up. I'm on here live. Christina, let me know if you can see me live. I am live now. Okay, right on, guys. It's been a little while since I've had Facebook live. So here I am with my jewelry today. I actually decided to wear light on jewelry today because I actually really just kind of want to get in and show you guys some my studio all the way through and all the way around. So let me see, Christina. Let me know if you can see me now live. I'm 1 minute and 3 seconds into this. So you guys, thank you for showing up. This is the Alchemy of Soldering. This group is actually put together for people who are kind of starting with this nomadic. We call it. We've started calling it here at our office and with a team, the nomadic traveling set. And okay, Suze. Oh my gosh, Suze, I'm so happy to see you. I don't know if you guys know Suze. I'm starting to get some. Hi, Donna. Hi, Brandy. Nice to see you guys. I'm really happy to see Suze. She loves, she got to see my nice definition of my yoga crosses, and I'm so glad to see you, and I'm glad your family is doing well too. So, okay, you guys, I am here. I'm in Cleveland. It's nice and cold, snowy. I love when it snows because we just get the what little sun we have to reflect off the snow, so we have brighter and brighter. So, yay, Cecile, nice. Oh my gosh, you guys, I really am so happy to be here. I really want to show this year, since I've been home teaching less, I really wanted to show just everything, just kind of about how I'm setting up my studio, how I'm setting it up for in a number of different layers. One, I'm in fashion, as you guys know. I'm getting the Milan line ready. Two, I'm doing the education, which is Alchemy of Soldering. Good morning, Christina's on, so now I know I'm good and I'm here. Okay, hi everybody, here's our group. We have a lot of new people, and then this will be on here, of course, to rewind and watch. Alchemy of Soldering. I'm wearing my lighter jewelry today, but I am wearing one of my hollow forms that I really kind of like the way this sits. A little bit dressed up today, not a lot. So since I'm talking about my studio tour today, and I really want to talk a lot about how I set things up. Today's Monday. It's like I have actually wardrobe here for photographing, putting beautiful sleeves on. I have wardrobe for showing up for things like this. But always beneath it all, you guys, the thing I want to show is I always have a white t-shirt on. So no matter how I show up with my jewelry, really part of my wardrobe is part of my whole studio thing. So I have been a jeweler for, oh my gosh, 35 years. Really adornment forever. I started the Greater Chicago Bead Society many years ago. We studied beads, we traveled. As a nomadic person, I did oh, thank you, Christina, that I do look. Thank you. Always the white t-shirt under though. So, so for me, in my 20s, I was so heavily into fashion. I used to sell to Nordstrom. I had an account with Banana Republic, and to set things up this way. I did the American Craft Council. I was doing museum exhibits back then. So my life was different then. And then I moved into, hi, nice to see you guys. Hi, Kimmy. I got to hear from Kim this morning. Then I moved into education and teaching, which I set up my studio a whole different way. I used to have an ice resin company where really I had this big long table that I worked and mixed ice resin. But now, currently, I'm going to show you how I set up my studio. Hello, everybody. I want to show you how I set up my studio all the way around. Oh, that was so nice, Christina. Oh, thank you. So really for the, I have a bag that I use that's actually right here that I'm actually getting prepared when I'm on the road again with nomadic travels. I can fit my whole, all of those tools into this bag right here, including my torch on this end. And, it's really set up that way. But in my studio, I have a lot more tools and different things around and available because why not, But so the thing I love, I know I talk a lot about Mexico and when I go to Morocco, the thing that I get mostly excited about is that I can build everything with this small $250 unit, of tools, and then adding a few more. And every time I get on, I'll show a couple extra tools that I really love. Mirrors, you guys are going to see mirrors. So I'm really excited about just showing you guys around. Right behind me is my wardrobe. Right here, I keep that right there. Look at the colors that I have here. So for me, I'm gonna that's where I sit right here. You guys can see the spot that I sit. Look at my gorgeous window that I have right there. So you can see the chair. That's where I sit because you guys can see my jewelry better when I talk. You guys can see everything better when I talk. So I'm going to actually walk over here to the very beginning and entering my studio, and I'm going to go through all the different areas, and then I'm going to very carefully, the bag was purchased in Mexico. No, we don't have contact info for that, but wouldn't it be fun to go to India and have that made? I have a super great space. This is outside my studio. There's so many different artists that work here, and it's really nice. So there's my entrance door. That was my last photo shoot that went to Milan. We have these sliding barn doors. I'm gonna have to flip this around because I don't have, I meant to ask Christina first off. Okay, so this is upon entering my studio. You can see over there to the left, it's really important to me to have a beautiful, comfortable area where I can sit, get on my computer, do my sketches, anything. When I meet with Christina, we meet every Monday morning. So my Monday morning starts with yoga at home. I get in, I get prepared for you guys here. I actually, on Mondays, I water all of my plants. I get in, water all of my plants. I change up my pickles. I change my waters. I do all of this type of stuff in my studio. If I do it on a regular basis on Mondays, that I won't forget it. So it's changing water, polishing anything up, oiling things up, oiling my anvil, oiling all of that, which I'll show you guys as we get closer, okay? So here's on this side. This is just, I keep extra masks there. I have my sign that says meeting in progress, because believe me, when you're working in a studio with a lot of different artists, there's always people knocking on your door, So it's fun sometimes, but you always have to focus on getting things done. So we use these two pieces in the photo shoot, and this one here is the new piece going to Milan, one of them. This one here is the one from last year, but we shot it again. This was a piece that I kept. We shot it again, and it looked fabulous. It was on a taller model, so we kind of wanted to do that. So I hope you guys are all good with seeing. I want to show you guys everything in my studio, if that works for you guys, just how I do things on a regular basis. Okay, so here's my sink. I'm one of the lucky people to have a sink. It's super dirty. I like to put very inspirational things in here. I actually used this pink piece up here. It was a robe, a silk robe that I bought in Bali. I used it for my photo shoot. There is a piece that I bought in Mexico, because for me, I'm nomadic. I do a lot of nomadic travels. So this actually is from New Guinea. All of these pieces just, keep me inspired. Here is a piece on the wall. When I was in Burma, we would search through all these clothes. My friend, hang on, my camera's not. This is it's a fabric that was falling apart from West Africa. And it was a pattern from Burma, and I used to do jackets like that. When I lived in Chicago, I did, took old fabrics that was coming apart, lined them with silk. So that was, some of the adornment that I did way back in time. So this right here I used to do, this is a leather, I used to do a lot of, I have this in here, some of my old work. It actually is silk on the inside from Thailand, and it just kind of leather and pulls everything together. On my chalkboard are my 5 words that I talked to you guys about. This helped me this year. I was able to, reduce who I am and what I'm about to these 5 words. So for me, this is nice. It's right next to my couch. I can look at this every day when I talk to you guys. I know in my head what my words are about. So it's kind of cool. With intentional metalsmithing, I always hope that I can help to get people to thinking about exactly who you are and where you come from. So that's kind of what I hope for that, for intentional metalsmithing. Here's my seat. There's some of my sketching that I do. I usually have my computer right here. Okay, I'm going to take you guys into, first of all, we call it Connie's room. This is the shipping and receiving room. Now, I haven't sunk any money into this room because why should I yet? I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing, with my jewelry. This is a desk that I just bought, and I pulled out this here. This is where I'm keeping all of my, this is where the gems are, just different jewelry are in these drawers. I have jewelry coming up, oops, that's gems, but I have, these really, they hold things well, and Connie works here. Here's my light box for taking the photos of the gems. And, I just let her set it up how she needs to. One thing I've learned in life is kind of let people do what they do well. What happened to my swing? Remember my swing? I did have it in there. Yes, I had a swing in that room that I would sit on. Remember, I'm letting Connie do that room however she wants to. Oh, thank you. I do have a great space. And we didn't even get to my metal. It's funny because for me, I need a lot of room to do other things. Being a silversmith, being a jeweler is about many different things. It's, here's a piece that I got actually from Cirque du Soleil in Paris, and plants are important. This is probably the ugliest part of my room. It's just extra tools and books, but whatever. Okay, so this actually went out to the photo shoot. There's that big piece that was both of these. They're in the performance and the photo shoot. And here's some of the other pieces that were in the photo shoot. So we did that Friday, and I haven't been back till Monday morning, so I still have a little bit of a mess in here. Now, if I stand this way, you guys are going to see this area right here, this little bitty triangle area is where I do all of my work. This is where everything is done. Most of it standing at this table right here. And I do annealing here, and then I do my pickling, jeweler's wheel, liver of sulfur, all right here. So this is just on a regular shelf. This is where I keep my wire. I have it set up where, so all different ways. This is actually, I have it set up with, oh my gosh, I don't know if it makes any sense to you guys, but this is an 18 gauge up here. This is like 20 and 22 gauge here. This is my 14 gauge. This is my 16 gauge. This is different bezel wire and things like that. Here is my 12 gauge wire. And then I have a lot of bezel wire down here. So it's all just over there. That's over in this area, so it's right at my fingertips. Here is this beautiful wall of tools. These are my extra tools that I don't use on a daily basis except for my jeweler's saw right there. So all these tools are kind of like a little bit extra. They're bracelet mandrels, ring mandrels, things like that. This is actually, you guys all get to see this painting here. This is a painting that I brought in from my house. It just really makes me feel like maybe I'm in a bar late at night with a bunch of these weirdos, That's why I bought that painting. Here's my anvil. You guys all know my anvil. I love working on a big anvil. I think the hardest thing about the smaller setup, the $250 setup. The only problem that I have is with a small anvil. You know, it's like I do so much forging that I really love a big anvil. This is where I stand every day. Oh my gosh, you know, it's really crowded. This is cleaned up. I just cleaned it up. This table will get so crowded. I know you guys are like that too. You know, my table gets so crowded. Right here, right here are my tools that I use regularly every day. You know, I have my drawers that I know where things are. I usually keep a lot of my open wires in this drawer right here. I work on the, thank God for this pulled out section. I found this about a year ago and I was like, hallelujah, more room to stick things on, right guys? Let me see if there's any questions coming in. Oh my God, please. You know what, I wanted to tell you guys, I do have, oh, you know what, listen, all I need really is a 10 by 10 space to work. The other stuff for me is thinking and all of that. Yeah, there's some, Anvil's got to be really expensive from in the old days. I remember when I bought mine for 150, maybe 20 years ago, and I was like, that was a lot of money, I thought, you know, and then shipping is crazy. But I, you know, for setup, I want to show you guys, really, it's just this small section here. And, you know, for me, I've been working slowly with how to set up. I'm not running out and just buying everything that I think I need. I'm just, you know, I'm just working slowly. Like, in fact, you guys can see I have a big chandelier here. Let me get to my, see my chandelier? It is gorgeous, but guess how much I paid for it? I paid $20 for it from the Restore, and the lights worked, and then I had to go scrounge up all these crystals from everywhere. So this, you know, it's interesting. I used, the last time around I just bought one, and this time around I'm just really trying to use different resources, because if you've been through a period of time where you have gotten rid of your things or shed some of your all these things you spent a lot of money on, you just don't want to spend all that money again, right guys? Oh yes, a piece of railroad. I always use my railroad tie. I don't even know where it is right now. In fact, I, you know, for my big anvil, I used to, sometimes I put a piece of leather on here and work different anvils on top of this one. Right next to my anvil are all the tools, is a little tool rack, and it has, this is my favorite hammer right here hanging, so I don't have to go far. This is another tool that I use a lot. This is the rubber mallet, but it actually is more of like a plastic. I really like the ends on this one. When I give talks about my tools, I'll have to talk a lot about that. Here's where I made up a lot of granulation that I can put into the shot plate. You know, that's in one of the chapters there. So all kinds of things. Here's where I have, so this is my immediate table. This is where I do almost all my soldering right here. So next to it, I have my pick, my paintbrush, my double, you know, my locking pliers. These have become such a joy to me. These are my new favorites. These really long, they're so nice for the granulations because the end is wood and they're so long, you know, so I use these a lot too. Markers, which are an important part, snips. So guys, I'm still doing all my work with this torch. It's pretty amazing. This is where I put my extra things from Sandy. This was a gift to me from a friend of mine. And I put like extra files and things. And literally, you guys, this is, I don't like having a lot of flux around because sometimes you spill it. So when I come in the morning, I throw a little bit of clean water in here. It's not the cleanest, but you know, I've seen so many, you don't have to have things perfect. So I guess that's what I want to show you guys. These are my, you know, this is my solder. Soft, or easy, medium, and hard. It's not a pretty sight. It doesn't have to be a pretty sight. Behind here at my desk, it's not a pretty sight. Okay, so, but you know what? It fits me. It really fits me. I like having extra. Here's where I have, this is like all my scrap metals. So if I just have a small bezel I'm making, I can pull something out of here. I have some scrap bezel wire. I keep that on hand. This is a lot of my solder that I have here, just in plastic containers. I'm not worried about spending a lot of money on a lot of things, until I need to. So, and here's where I do all my annealing, right here. Not a pretty sight either, but it's very, very functional. I have pliers that are just inexpensive pliers. Let me see. Let me make sure that that's not going to be Christina calling. Nope. This is family. Usually I can try to have my phone with me. So, railroad anvil, some are for, oh my gosh, yeah, if you could get 35 for your railroad anvils, that would be amazing. I use railroad anvils forever, seriously. All you need is like a big, heavy, chunky metal. All you need, so for me, it's like, I don't try to have the perfect space. I lived in this space for 2 years and just kind of, I have to live someplace for a year to even know how to set it up. I had to completely reset up my new space, to be efficient, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Absolutely. Thank you, Donna. So that really is it. It's like, look, I'll show you my anvil, but this is my space right there. That's pretty much it. So I do have a really big place. Some of it's for shipping and receiving. This is a crock pot. That's my pickle. On Monday, sometimes I just actually changed to fresh pickle because my pickle was I went, oh my gosh, a month, 2 months with my pickle, and I changed my water. They're just in plastic containers. My water gets pretty nasty or it gets evaporated. We're always so dry here. I just actually had to change my wheel. So this is my wheel. I'm actually back to using, this is my Scotch Brite wheel. This one cuts off edges and cleans. This one gives me that nice polish. Although with my work as complex as it's getting, I'm starting to use oils, just different type of oils. Remember back years ago, the oils that were used, people would pull the oil from the side of their nose and put it onto their pieces to seal it up. Liver sulfur actually has a nice oil to it. So when we're doing all that hand work, liver sulfur works well to give you a little bit of oil. And and then here's my my liver sulfur pot right here. I don't have a lot of room, but I don't need it. I have to change this water too. So what type of exhaust system do I use to remove the fumes? Guess what? I actually have, with the butane, I do have my acetylene right here. I used to always use acetylene. I have a really nice fan that goes through my windows. We have really high ceilings, but when I'm using my acetylene, I have to have really good ventilation. With the butane, I'm not saying you don't have to have ventilation at all, but butane, the difference between butane and acetylene gas is butane will sink, so you're not breathing it in. And that's one of the reasons I really like using this butane, especially for us beginning, because you're focusing on so many factors, on getting your work perfect, and you're focusing on so much. It's kind of nice to start with this. I actually did this because I'm nomadic. I was teaching. Also, it's like I want to bring my backpack with me when I go to India, so I can set up in the middle of the field and do my metal work. So when you're using butane sinks. It's not that, it's burning through the air. I keep plants in my studio to keep my oxygen replenished. But seriously, this is an old factory building. We have good ventilation. If I pull out my acetylene, I have to have good, better ventilation. So that's one of the nice things about the butane, is the ventilation system. Slightly off topic, but who's worried about, where did that go? Volatile silver prices. You know what? I'm actually not, as long as how it's like I noticed from being a silversmith for so long, it's like patterns. Someone at the beginning of COVID was really upset, and I was like, look, I was an artist during 9/11, and, so I've seen different patterns like this happen. For me, um, silver prices, you're going to see silver prices go up when people aren't investing in housing anymore and stocks aren't crashing. So luckily for us, everyone's stocks are doing fairly well, and I know housing is doing really well. So I wouldn't worry that much about silver. Not that I'm an investment person, but that's kind of what I'm saying now. If silver's going up, there's no reason for it. Should be factored, yes, and the cost of your goods should be factored into your price. Christina, as you guys know, has a marketing program, and she talks about the left brain side for artists, which is amazing. You guys should, and Christina is my operationals manager. You guys have seen her get in touch with you and help organize all of this. So I'm really grateful for Christina. She shows up here to help me out. So thank you. My work is amazing. Oh, thank you. And the freeness you give yourself to create. See that? It's like one thing I think in my courses, you guys know, is that I'm like, try it, do it. I realized when I started working with adults that adults, like we've been told so many times how we can't do things, And really, when I taught for kids, kindergarten through 8th grade at Montessori, an art program. These kids, I'd be like, okay, kids, let's try this. They would be like, yes, let's do it, So it's really kind of interesting to see, so I just kind of encourage people to bring out what is in their heart and soul. And that's the intentional part of intentional metalsmithing, to bring out what you really do. That for me has caught the eye of, in Milan Fashion Week. I won an award there. I'm really excited. Like, if you're not afraid building a piece, only a crazy person, right? Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, Susan, only a crazy person is going to build with sticks. What the heck is that about? And how is this going to look in the end, But it's like, if you really follow your heart and do your work, and that's not mostly what my course is about. I teach you a lot of things in the course, but in intentional metalsmithing, what I'm really talking about is, trying, not being afraid of the silver. You can always melt your silver down, re-put it into the pot, melt it down again. This was a piece that I built for the performance. You guys are going to see how gorgeous, this piece moves. For me, it's like I've been building this jewelry for so long. I used to repair ethnographic jewelry for a couple years. So, for me, I used to repair ethnographic jewelry, so I have seen really unusual jewelry and people that love their jewelry. And, years ago, in the early 90s, I was out staying all over in small villages in Thailand, and there was a Karen woman that had the stack that stretched her neck up high. Some of the things that people from back in time, a lot of the upper class or wealthier people would do things to put them out of commission. Women would, in some ways, their husbands would be proud if they stretched their neck, because you're really more of an ornament. Or, in China, binding your feet. You are privileged enough to be more of an ornament and not have to work hard in your life. And that's, what a lot of this is about. Some of it's about, is showing status and different things like that. You love my crazy. So it's so true. What are my thoughts on the jewel tool? I really like the jewel tool. I think it's fantastic. I think it's a great jeweler's wheel. I remember meeting her. It's like I already have a jeweler's wheel that I've been using, this direction for years and years. So why would I change? Some of the things, you guys, even if I'll really kind of put it towards my work area there. For me, it's like, because I've been a jeweler for 35 years. 35 years ago, we didn't have all these special tools. When you called up a jeweler company back in the 90s and was like, hey, How can my flux is bubbling up? They would be like, you know what? You better go get a different life because you're not a silversmith, and they'd hang up on you like that, literally. Rio Grande came into our life and started answering questions, and teachers like us came in and started answering questions. Back when I was in school, or when anyone is in school, there was a lot of people that learned um, metalsmithing, you know, not by being formally trained, because it really is for craftsmanship. How a carpenter would learn his trade, or people wouldn't give away your secrets. You'd have to work. You would have a whole semester on jeweler's saw. We're showing you like the speeded up version. You guys are getting all these courses pretty quickly. Our polishing wheel's a must. Hand polishing is fantastic. And actually, Tamara, with my pieces that are getting more detailed, I would never put this piece on the jeweler's wheel. If I did want to polish it, I would put it on, use a hand tool with it. If I was out, somewhere else where I couldn't use a hand tool, if I didn't have electricity, I always like to, best case, nomadic travel. If I didn't have couldn't plug in, I just would make sure when I pulled it out of the pickle, I would polish it up clean. You have to polish off all that residue that's left from pickle. So that all has to be polished off. And then when I put it in liver of sulfur, it gives me this gorgeous oil and shine to it. And then when I repolish it off again, it's like I give big strokes to my work, and I get a really beautiful shine on there. But yeah, for something like this, I started using my hand tool. So really, that's what I would do. Jeweler's bronze. Jeweler's bronze is a nice alternative to silver. It is really nice. I mean, you know what? Really, it's like the price that sterling into bezel wire, or fancy wires, it's going to be a lot higher in price. But if you're feeling like you can't get that much money for your piece, work with bronze. For me, years ago, I used to only solder with sterling silver. I didn't care if I work with bronze or silver. I would charge the same price for it. You can solder with bronze. It's such a pretty metal. I think it's actually prettier because gold is so popular now too than copper. The copper is beautiful, well, if it's polished right, but bronze, gold is really popular, so that'd be nice to use the bronze. Oh, thank you that you're amazing. Well, listen, what I do is if you guys saw my board earlier, I'm about inspiration. To me, because I'm successful in my work, it doesn't take away from me that you guys are successful in your work too. We're building, all of us. It's like years ago, what I say is like years ago, the American Craft Council was here, and they actually took all these courses just to train themselves in bringing pieces into the museum, and how do you judge pieces in the museums, So it's like we're actually building a community for ourselves. We're building a market for ourselves with jewelry getting bigger, with more people involved in jewelry. We're all speaking to our own people, and we're just getting a bigger market. Doesn't take away from anyone. Aw, thank you. Yes. Your free course on soldering gave me the confidence and extra skill to finally be able to succeed. Oh, see? Looking for good. Well, thank you, Debbie. It's so true. It's like, it's so much fun. Should be fun. I mean, it's more, this direction is giving you permission rather than taking away. Years ago, like I said, in the courses, I always felt like it was like, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. When I first started teaching, and did like my pencil stud piece and all these pieces, I was asked to teach for the goldsmiths, all goldsmiths and silversmiths. And I was like, oh my God, this is so intimidating. I just never expected that, to start teaching, because I was like, look, you guys, I learned in my own studio, up in my own, extra room, like in my own ways, just as a nomadic traveler, you know. So I was really surprised. I'm really impressed. And, you know, it's like, you know, people, my pieces go to Milan, my pieces go to museum exhibits, my pieces, you know, and I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that don't, you know, find your own process and your own words and your own tools, you know. I think at the beginning when I offered the course, there was a whole thing like, this isn't the right jeweler saw, or this isn't the right torch, this isn't the right, you know. And it's like, who cares? You know, I'm from the group of people where you made your own tools. When you really look at a very successful jeweler, they are not following the rules. To be able to really get your work out there wide open, for someone to notice your work, if you're following the rules and you're buying all the right tools and you're buying all the right extra tools, your work is the same as the person next to you, you know? So I think remember Tim McRae was one of the teachers. One of the things that I always loved about him is he was a teacher at the university, but he embraced all of these unusual ways to do things because he did the same. If you look at any single person that has done so well with their work, you know, you're using alternative routes. So they're just not showing people because you're going to be criticized, you know, in different ways. So, and for me too, it's like when I show my torches, I build all my work, you know, so I have the same people who are like, oh my gosh, great work, you know, but don't like the torch I'm using. What does that matter? You know what I mean? So have your confidence, be in your studio, have your confidence, set it up for what's right for you. You don't need to have the railroad tie is a beautiful anvil. I just happen to have some of these things. Oh, thank you so much. I am very grateful that you're here. Listen, I just show up and do jewelry talks. I don't really teach sketching techniques because mine are not the greatest. I can get the point across. I usually don't even let people see other work, but I do sketch my pieces out. I think on the table you saw, I sketch things out. I label things with words. One thing, like when I was younger, I did a lot of symbolism. I always etched and sketched symbolism. So, oh, you know, Christina, I've got a lot of announcements to make. So, Christina, okay, so she said there's a bit of a delay, but let me give you guys some announcements as long as I'm sitting here, and then I'll also, okay. See how I love having Christina. She really helps to organize. I do have a book. Oh, thank you guys. Well, listen, I do have a book coming out with the Intentional Metalsmithing series. We've been working really hard, Christine and I. It's Intentional Metalsmithing. I'm hoping in there to, you know, inspire you as much as we have a lot of the students' work that's in here. Thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you. So, you know, I'm actually reprinting making connections, because actually I'm finding I'm using it, like in that pencil stub piece. I use rivets, I use different pieces if I need to for anything. Okay, so let me tell you guys the schedule verbally, and then we'll all be happy. I'll be able to be happy. Okay, Monday, you guys know I showed up here. See that? I really wanted to show you guys my tools, and let me know if there's any other questions. Wednesday, there's actually going to be I actually filmed already the stacker rings, but I wanted to show just a little bit about how to put together square wire. You know, how you guys are going to see there's just some extra tips in there with square wire. With, if you guys notice, if anyone has been doing their work with you know, beaded wire and square wire, you have more of a chance of not getting exact. So I just wanted to show you guys that. So that'll be on Wednesday. And Friday, I'm going to be on the Facebook group just to talk and answer questions. I might show, you know, just showing a tool. I'm not doing demos. The demos are always recorded. So Friday, I'm going to be here again. So for the next 2 weeks, I'm showing up here, right here, on our Alchemy of Soldering. And then this is where our group will be. I'm planning on getting on here regularly to help answer questions with people taking any of the courses, you know. And I always have my, on Instagram, I always have my jewelry talk, which to me is just about doing our work, showing up as a jeweler, how to get there. This summer, believe me, you guys, fashion and, artwork are going to break wide open. And if not this summer, very soon. Anytime there's hard times like this, people are moving towards important pieces. They're moving towards pieces that make them feel good, you know? So that's what we're in the business for. Oh, good. Okay, good, good. Yes, well, for some people, it will be in an ebook and you will have the chance to get it printed. For people who donate, who put pieces in the book, you actually get, you will actually get a printed version. And I have I have from some really special into the book too, that like specifically hone in on some of these, almost like making connections that hone in on some of these techniques. So when I do caging, there's a couple people who I love who are working and making money and selling their work. And I'm going to bring in their work too on caging, on hollow forms, on connections, and all of this too. So really, I hope that's why Christina, we're working really hard. So there'll be both. Making connections. Oh, is your Bible. Thank you. Oh, yay, you have the first printing. Oh my gosh, I see that on there sometimes, and it has gone up to like $800. So it's crazy how the prices go up. Took 2 classes with me in Tucson. Thank you, Cora. So, you guys, I'm really feeling myself moving back into this working artist again. I don't, I will go to Tucson when it opens. I don't know if I'm going to be teaching and traveling again. It was such hard work, for me. I might have people here to my studio again. I am course to Mexico every year, and I do Morocco and India. Students, no, the students in IM, if you donated a piece, you'll get a hard copy, but you can always buy one. You'll get an ebook, and then if you want it printed, you could print it yourself, or you could buy a printed version, which won't be that much more for students in intentional metalsmithing. Does that make sense? Right, Christina? Let me second that with Christina. Okay, so then and Christina will put it on, if you don't mind, Christina. Yes, copy work into sterling. Yes. I actually bought a lot of silver. When I see silver go down, I actually bought a lot of silver coins, fine silver coins from the bank, and I bought some gold coins as well for doing my gold work. You buy it by the ounce. So I actually bought just a lot of, there's collectible silver coins and collectible gold, but I actually bought, and let's not drive up the price of silver and gold, but I bought a really good handful, because when I was in Mexico, that's what I did, is we actually built our jewelry and our gold, silver and gold, by melting down coins from the bank. They literally sell it to you for what the price is of silver and gold on that day. Yes, if you want to, you can, I don't really have, I always do my most current work, but I am going to Mexico again. And when we left there last time, we're just gonna breathe, and you can keep your eye on there. Yes, if you want to come to Mexico, it is really a nice time. Okay, intentional metalsmithing people will get updates about the book. You won't miss out. Christina's going to be sending you guys. Yes, she is working really hard. Thank you, Christina. We had a meeting this morning, and she really is putting together, helping this all out. Okay, so on Monday. Next Monday, again, you guys, I'm going to get on and I'm going to show you guys the $250 package. And when when I talk about going to Mexico, I love it because we didn't even have a chuck key. So we did everything. For maybe the last 2 days, we got our chuck key for the drill. But no one was that passionate enough to need to go get a chuck key at the hardware store. So we did all of our stuff by hand with this small toolkit. So that was pretty cool. That's what I love about it. It's like, for me, when I can really see us in action using this small nomadic toolkit in action, because that's what we're bringing to Morocco. That's what we're bringing to India. That's what we're bringing. So, okay, so Monday I'm coming back on. I'm talking all about the tools that are really on the tool list. There's an updated list. And then it'll be Wednesday will be the second part of the stacker, setting the gems, setting these small gems, and Friday I go live again. So really for the next couple weeks, I'm getting used to getting back on here again, and which is why I showed you guys. It's like I have the wardrobe here. Let me see. Here's the wardrobe, guys. I keep these. You wouldn't think this would be such an important part of my studio. I think I'm going to bring a rack in here, but I have my wardrobe, so when I'm which is a good thing to have if you guys have a separate space. If I'm in my studio, wherever I'm at, and wherever I'm at, I use a lot of these cookie trays. I had them from teaching, but I use a lot of these cookie trays. Oh my gosh, they hold everything from, and I put paper towels down on them. They hold things that I've finished. They held things from when I went to things that are going to be sold on my site for upcoming shows, for photographs I'm going to do. So it's like all this little stuff, cookie trays. Hey, it's like they're inexpensive. I go to the dollar store and pick up a few of these, and they're just pretty useful. No, same time each day. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Having your coffee. Yes. So that's and I will. Oh, okay. Thank you, Kay. Pamela Huntington. You always love the way that I work and teach. I remember cookie trays at our fest, remember? I know. So it's like for me, because I'm living my life differently, I'm like, how do I reinterpret my life to work here in my studio? What am I bringing in? I'm not going to, I have my, it's like every time I do a sale, which by the way, February 13th, I have another big sale coming up of jewelry, of new gems. I have all these new gems coming in that are all different shapes, but I don't know if there's some really beautiful ones that are going to be posted for this one too. So, yeah, oh my gosh. 5 p.m. UK time, you're home from work relaxing. You have a glass of wine in your hand, don't you then, Debbie? So, that's kind of really the tools. You guys can see my can of MAP gas. People want to give you a lot of, harassment about the MAP gas. But the nice thing is, again, thank you for bringing up the ventilation, because if you are using butane, you don't have such a worry about the ventilation. I think some of the scariest parts to setting up as a silversmith is, oh my gosh, if you have a leak in your acetylene tank, could it blow? I actually used to use my acetylene tank, and I was in a I had my hardware store where ice resin was, and I had my studio in the back. It was an old hardware store that closed and reopened, and the people upstairs from me, their carbon monoxide would go off if I was using, even though I had ventilation, the carbon monoxide would go off upstairs. So I was like, okay, even sometimes I'm like, I might switch back to my acetylene, but when I do, I really have to make sure my ventilation is working properly. So with the butane, you're fine. It just, the fire just burns up oxygen in the air. And I have my plants here for me. I have a lot of plants that you guys got to see. Oh yeah, there's where my sale will be. Christina put that up. So I'm super excited about the sale. I have a lot of new pieces going up. All these gorgeous earrings that you guys saw. I really started experimenting with, sorry about that, guys. Just the, gems in itself. Just the gems, like pure and simple gems with the holes cut out in the back, and just a lot of these that go all the way around, just, oh my gosh, gems. For me, I think I talked about, and this will be another talk though, the gems and their properties. I'm such a believer in that. I found, and in chakras, I've been doing all this chakra work the past, oh my gosh, few years. And I'm finding, if you're looking at any of my new work that's going to Milan, it's all yellows, oranges, and reds. So I am here on Earth, guys, doing my real grounding kind of work, not floating in the sky anymore. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. You want those earrings? Christina wants the earrings. Cookie trays, yes. And really, I do cookie trays for, I've got a tray here. If I'm preparing for anything, I've got like some work here that I'm working with. It's all on a cookie tray. You know, when I go to set up to teach or to work, everything's on a cookie tray. There's all cookie trays there. Life is easy with cookies, right, guys? So yeah, here's my nice space. So it gets pretty dark once, you know, at different times a year. You know I like finding a good. I'm gonna sit over here at my couch. This is where I like to sit, right here at my couch. So all right, I think I gave all the announcements, right, Christina? What about propane and oxygen? So propane and oxygen, make sure that you have really good ventilation. You know, it could be acetylene is probably the toughest. You know, you really have to make sure oxygen sinks. So oxygen sinks, the butane sinks, you know, the fumes sink, so you're not breathing them in again. You know, if you're working with acetylene, also with propane oxygen, you want to have a mask on. You know, you want to wear your own ventilation. For me, it's like I'm already bundled up with glasses, and it's even hot in here now. So we get some pretty hot, you know, it can be pretty hot in the studio. Big wall of windows, natural light. I know, I love it. Oh my gosh. Except in the coldest, I close them. And in the summer, so the hardest part is that it's an old factory. It actually, you know, here in Cleveland was the steel factories and the the iron workers and all of that. This is the car industry. So this was a car called Astor. They actually were bigger than Ford at one time. So they put together all these cars here. So we have these freight elevators that used to fit these cars into, and then they'd roll them out. So it's really fun when people come in here. White trays from IKEA for projects. They also stack well. Nice. See, that's nice, Sherry. That's Sherry. She's got the fancy studio. Yeah, it really is. Oh my gosh, nice to see you then, Debbie, for coming in. Oh, repeat my question again. Okay, what is it? If anyone else has any questions, I love butane, but sometimes you need a narrow flame. I know, absolutely. So it really is true. It's like I said, sometimes even in my studio, I may get back into my acetylene again. Right now we're a little bit closed up because it's winter. They're not giving us much heat this year. So normally I have my windows open, fans on. So yes, if you need your narrow flame, just get some good ventilation in there. And I might even pop back onto my acetylene again. It's just for me, I used to, because I travel a lot and I like to do my work other places, if I get too used to doing my acetylene, I pop out to Mexico and it's hard for me to teach on the butane. We'll see this time, you know, instead of switching back and forth. Sometimes I'm using two for really big jobs. I think I just like to show my challenge the past 2 years has been like, all right, I have done everything with the butane, which is more of a challenge. You know, challenges are good at work. Challenges are super good because it makes life exciting, right? I love this piece right here, in here. This piece, as much work as it is on the front and on the back, sometimes the backs are even prettier, this whole thing is done with the butane, which to me, that's exciting. You know, I just get like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting if I can get all of this accomplished simplistically. Okay, let me see. This one is Christina giving me a message. Oh, Jane has asked a question 3 times. Sizes of my square wire you recommended. Okay. So let me scroll down and see. Okay, so, oh my gosh, I didn't even scroll all the way down. Okay, for square wire, I use pretty much 3 different kinds. If I need this square wire to hold a piece like this is actually a 14 gauge because a 16 gauge, it's not going to be strong enough. If I need a ring band, 14 gauge, so I'll use 14 gauge. I do use 16 gauge sometimes. Sometimes I use 18 gauge. So For caging, if I use it for caging, I sometimes use 18, 16. I don't usually use 14. Um, so, so I would say I have with me 3 different kinds of square wire, 14 for the protrusions that I do, 16 and 18 that I hardly use except for caging. Make sense? You'd love to know a reason for different areas for sneaking and soldering. Love to know reasons for sneaking and soldering. No, I travel and solder. So for me, it's like, also there's people who get intimidated by the big tanks to start with. You're in right brain, you're creating. Is that what you're talking about? For sneaking and soldering. Who sneaks and solders? So for me, if I'm in India, I have to, Americans traveling over, I don't necessarily have a studio space. So I can sit out in the open. When I teach, we used to have to bring a whole setup of teaching, in a hotel room, in a conference room. Is that what you're talking about? I don't think I'm sneaking and soldering, but okay, for stack rings. Okay. Okay. Annealing. I usually use for annealing my map gas right there. That's my annealing station right here, because it's not necessarily that expensive. I don't usually like using my acetylene. My acetylene is there. It's kind of a finer flame, and my map gas or propane you could use. It really anneals quickly. Stack rings. So the supply list, you should have it. It's just, well, the first week I'm just showing the square wire 14 gauge. And then the next week I'm just showing a small gem and bezel wire. I think I use serrated edges. I bet Christina will get that. Bezel gauges. Bezel gauges. You're asking for. Oh, annealing, it's just kind of a really big flame that you're just heating things up. You don't want to put a hole or damage one area. Soldering, I use my butane. Bezel gauges. Okay, are you talking about like a 32 gauge or so? There's a lot of things that I talk about on my jewelry talks that I taught. Actually, and even in intentional metalsmithing, where I talk about fine silver. If I really want to get around, if I have a complex kind of a shape, a small shape, I need to do a lot of bending. I use a fine silver like 32 gauge. When I'm recommending people first start with their soldering, I'm using like sterling silver 24 gauge and sterling silver 24 gauge strip too. So all different types. I do all different types for all different reasons. So that would be a really long answer, but I hope that answers it in a nutshell. What size wire for stacking rings? 14. I use 14. You want them to be nice and solid. Sometimes I use tiny ones. This is, again, all different sizes. This one is like even twisted wire of a 22 gauge. So, but it's nice. I use 18 gauge. So I use different kinds for different reasons. This one, I'm going to put a gem on it. So I use an 18, or I'm sorry, a 14, and then I put a gem on it. Okay. I've never had issues with other torches. Right on, sister. Then absolutely. Then you know what? Just use what torch you're comfortable with when you're working in the system. There's definitely people that just am like, I'm so used to using propane and oxygen that I'm just going to continue. Absolutely. So do whatever you feel comfortable with. There's, people that are beginning and they, just get intimidated, by maybe the precautions that a big tank would take. So it's a nice way to start with a small butane, or when you're traveling. So please quickly show how you attach elements to that thick leather neck piece. I'll show you a close-up of it, okay? And then let me make sure that there's any others with, would love to be more comfortable with butane. Please advise safety rules. Okay, well, are you using anything right now, Dale? So the Butane Torch is, I just like the challenge. and this is all going to be in the book too. It's a cooler gas. Acetylene is a super hot gas, so you can get in and out pretty quick. The way that I use my butane is I use screens with them, because once you can get in and heat up screens from under, then you've got more heat going for you. So when you're working with butane, it's a cooler gas, so I'm always getting in and heating, get a lot of heat going under. So you're using hot screens, you're using your hot torch and things like that. Okay, bring your questions on Friday and I'll show you guys. Let me show a close-up of this one. Bring your questions. So on Friday, bye you guys. Christina's gotta go, I gotta go. Here's my attachments. I'll show closer next time. Bring your questions on Friday. I'm here and I'm gonna answer anything on Friday. Thank you guys for showing up. Thanks.